tonight. Emotions run high as the remains of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Ibrahim Attahiru, and other officers who died in yesterday's plane crash are buried at the military cemetery Abuja. Condolences and tributes pour in for Lieutenant General Attahiru and other officers as the nation mourns the sudden departure of the Army and Air Force officers in a plane crash yesterday. Rivers State chapter of the People's Democratic Party welcomes top members of the opposition APC to its fold. Governor Nyesom Wike says the PDP remains the party to beat. And UN appeals to Israel and Gaza to observe the agreed ceasefire as officials tour areas in Gaza most damaged by the 11-day fighting between both sides.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's foreign exchange reserve sustains decline, dipping by $102.51 million week on week.
And on sports news, Atletico Madrid topple arch-rival Real Madrid to emerge champions of the Spanish Liga for the first time since 2014.
The remains of the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Ibrahim Attahiru, and other officers who died in a plane crash yesterday have been laid to rest at the National Military Cemetery in Abuja after the Christian and Muslim funeral services held in their honor. Other officers who died in the ill-fated flight are Brigadier General Idris Abdul Kadri, Brigadier General Olainka, Brigadier General Kuliya, Major Aliu Hayat, Major Hamzat, Sergeant Umar Sadiu, Flight Lieutenant Taiwo Asoni, Flight Lieutenant Ayodeji Olufade, Sergeant Adeshino, and ACM Oyedepo. Present at the burial were the wives of the officers and other family members who appeared shaken by the sudden departure of their loved ones, as well as top military officers. The President, who was represented by the Minister of Defense, described the late Army's chief as a source of inspiration who was dedicated and committed to the country's unity.
A solemn atmosphere for family members, the military and the nation in mourning as reality kicks in over the loss of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Ibrahim Attahiru, and other military officers on an ill-fated aircraft in Kaduna. Their remains in ambulances makes their way for the Islamic and Christian funeral services in the nation's capital, Abuja. After the service, pallbearers moved the coffins to the military cemetery for interment, where the family members, top military and government officials, as well as special guests are gathered to pay their last respects. A moment of silence is observed in their honor as the cleric, who could hardly hold back his emotions, offered prayers. And a gun salutes to the fallen heroes. An emotional funeral oration for the top military officers is reeled out.
Has answered the call of his creator. His death is a great loss to his family, to the Nigerian Army, and the nation in general.
The Imam and chaplain proceed to conduct the interment witnessed by family members. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabor, pays tribute to his comrades.
It was a sad day for the nation as I received with shock and utter dismay the gloomy news of the sudden demise of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Ibrahim Attahiru, and 10 other of our very gallant officers and personnel. The loss of our gallant, ebullient, energetic but calm Chief of Army Staff and other heroes of patriotic zeal and love for country is painful, but certainly not in vain.
For President Muhammadu Buhari, represented by the Minister of Defense, it is a sad and trying moment for the armed forces. It notes that the late Lieutenant General Ibrahim Attahiru and other officers were devoted to their service.
He led the Nigerian Army from the front and was a source of inspiration worthy of emulation by all officers and men of the armed forces of Nigeria. He will always be remembered for his dedication, commitment as a military officer, and his numerous landmark contribution to the Nigerian unity, peace, and security. He will be indeed missed, especially in the trying times of our nationhood.
The representative of the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces presents flags to the next of kin of the officers. Certainly, the loss of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Ibrahim Attahiru, and 10 top military officers will be felt significantly for their contribution in protecting Nigeria's territorial integrity.
Earlier, funeral services were held in honor of the departed Army officers. Muslim prayers were held for the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Ibrahim Attahiru, and 5 other Army officers at the National Mosque, while a service was held at the Nigeria Air Force Base Protestant Church for the remaining officers. Our correspondent, Gloria Mezuke, has this report.
It's a harrowing moment for these grieving families as they gather at the National Mosque for the Islamic prayers for the former Chief of Army Staff and other officers who died in the ill-fated crash. 6 caskets conveying the bodies of the fallen military officers are laid out before the Chief Imam of the Abuja National Mosque for prayers.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Messages of the exemplary lives of the fallen heroes is rife.
We should try as much as possible to do the best we can at all times if we are given the opportunity to provide leadership for this country. And that is the lesson that we have learned. And then we should also try as much as possible to do the right thing at all times and be close to God Almighty.
By the time they want to comment, they are already moving inside.
Simultaneously, the other 5 officers are brought to the NAF Base Protestant Church, where the Christian funeral service is held. The sudden death of the officers, including Brigadier General Olayinka and other crew members in the ill-fated crash, have undoubtedly left many emotionally vulnerable.
Immortal, invisible.
A cry of anguish reverberates in the hall as one of the wives of the departed clutched at a photo of her late husband, while others appear to be struggling for breath. In his remarks, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Oladayo Amao, says the solemn event offers every Nigerian an opportunity for sober reflection.
This solemn event, in addition to honoring the sacrifice and memory of our fallen comrades, offer us all an opportunity for sober reflection as we pray for the eternal repose of their gentle souls. We shall do all that is possible to mitigate whatever hardship their death will bring. On our part, the armed forces, we wish to reinstate our profound commitment and unalloyed loyalty to the President as he continues to lead the nation's collective effort to tackling the security challenges bedeviling the nation.
A representative from the presidency, the secretary to the government of the Federation, resonates that confidence and security comes from God.
Our hope for the future, our safety and our security is domiciled under the canopy of God. That our consolation is in the fact that these ones have slept in the Lord.
The death of the officers embody what many describe as heroic selflessness, reigniting a sense of resilience and hope that the war against insurgency would finally be won.
Rest. I promise you, I'll live the life. I promise to pray, I'll live the life your chief.
From the Nigerian Air Force Base, Abuja, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
The Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Anwar Gambo, has directed the cancellation of the events marking the 65th anniversary of the Nigerian Navy. This decision followed the sad loss of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Ibrahim Attahiru, some senior officers and other personnel in an air crash yesterday. The CNS commiserates with the nation and offers the condolences of officers and ratings of the Nigerian Navy to the President, Nigerian Army, Nigerian Air Force, as well as families of the department. May their souls rest in peace. On a programming note, we would bring to you all that transpired at today's funeral services and burial of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Ibrahim Attahiru, and other officers in the nation's capital, Abuja. It will be broadcast at 11 p.m. tonight, immediately after the news at 10. Please stay tuned. Meanwhile, the President, Muhammadu Buhari, says he's deeply saddened over the plane crash that claimed the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Ibrahim Attahiru, and other military officers, describing them as heroes who paid the ultimate price for peace and security in the land. The President said in a statement by his media aide that the plane crash is one mortal blow to our underbelly at a time our armed forces are poised to end the security challenges facing the country. He further pledged that the departed would not die in vain. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has also been paying tribute to the departed officers. He said he received the news of the death of the Army Chief and other military officers with great sorrow. According to Professor Osinbajo, their death while in active service in the defense of our country reflects the depth of sacrifice our military officers, men and women of the other ranks, are often prepared to make. He commiserates with families, friends, and colleagues of the gallant officers and men, while praying that God grants them the fortitude to bear the loss. In part two, after the break, we have more tributes for the gallant officers, plus the Accident Investigation Bureau to probe the cause of yesterday's plane crash as military takes charge of the accident site in Kaduna State. you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Emotions run high as the remains of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Ibrahim Attahiru, and other officers who died in yesterday's plane crash are buried at the military cemetery in Abuja. Condolences and tributes pour in for Lieutenant General Attahiru and other officers as the nation mourns the sudden departure of the Army and Air Force officers in the plane crash yesterday. And UN appeals to Israel and Gaza to observe the agreed ceasefire as officials tour areas in Gaza most damaged by the 11-day fighting between both sides. We're still staying with our lead story as we show you how it all played out in the nation's capital, Abuja, today. Our correspondent, Terry Kumi, has details.
Dignitaries arrived at the National Military Cemetery, Abuja, for the interment of the late Chief of Army Staff and others who died in a plane crash just about 24 hours earlier. President of the Senate, federal lawmakers, Chief of Staff to the President, the Governor of Kaduna State, service chiefs and some members of the Federal Executive Council are all in attendance. The atmosphere is solemn as the pallbearers march in with the coffins draped in national colors. The grieving families are handed the national colors amid tears. In his remarks, the Chief of Defense Staff eulogizes the late Chief of Army Staff and assures the fallen officers that their fight for a better secured Nigeria will continue even though they are gone.
The loss of our gallant, ebullient, energetic but calm Chief of Army Staff and other heroes of patriotic zeal and love for country is painful but certainly not in vain. Remember the families of our fallen heroes. Remember, it is love for country. To the able, gallant, and courageous officers and men of the armed forces of Nigeria, as we mourn our colleagues, let us march on in the determination to defend our country against every form of threat. Your spirit is unquenchable. Rise up in strength, rise up in faith. The death of our colleagues is not in vain. The sting of death, you have not stopped the fight against all forms of insecurity.
The President's message is presented by the Minister of Defense. He wants Nigerians to know that the fallen officers were dedicated to maintaining the unity of the country.
By all officers and men of the armed forces of Nigeria, he will always be remembered for his dedication, commitment as a military officer, and his numerous landmark contribution to the Nigerian unity, peace, and security. Our dear country has no doubt lost the true rare gems of officers and men. Their contributions and sacrifices to the nationhood cannot be forgotten and will continue to linger in the hearts and arch in the history books of Nigeria. They were widely known for their uncommon loyalty to this country, a virtue which Nigeria demands from all of us at this critical period of nationhood.
The entire country mourns the demise of 11 fallen officers, including the Chief of Army Staff, who many say was a morale booster for the troops and was determined to bring an end to the insecurity in Nigeria. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
The President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, has expressed deep sadness over the tragic incident. Senator Lawan describes the tragedy as a national disaster of immense proportion that has thrown the entire nation into mourning. While the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, described his death and that of other officers as shocking and sad. Honorable Gbajabiamila says the death of the Army Chief is unfortunate, coming at a time that the Nigerian military is finding solutions to the security challenges in the country. On behalf of members of the Federal Executive Council, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, has praised the passion and professionalism with which the officers served the country. According to him, the Army Chief discharged the responsibilities of his office professionally, especially the prosecution of internal security operations across the country since his appointment in January this year. He also condoled with the families of the departed heroes and prayed to God to grant them comfort and peace of mind at these trying times, while commiserating with the President, the armed forces, other security forces, as well as government and the people of Kaduna State. From the state governors, we begin from Yobe State, where Governor Mai Mala Buni says he's shocked, heartbroken, and deeply saddened by the unfortunate aircraft. He describes the death of the Army boss and the other officers as a great national loss and prayed to God to grant their souls eternal rest. His counterpart from Zamfara State, Bello Matawale, also describes the death of the Army Chief as a monumental loss to the country and the Army High Command. For the Governor of Niger State, the death of the Army boss and others is coming at a time when the newly appointed Chief of Army Staff, along with other service chiefs, has developed renewed efforts in tackling insecurity in the country. He adds that the late Chief of Army Staff has, within his short time in office, demonstrated and showed remarkable commitment in the cause of discharging his duty. And for the Governor of Benue State, Samuel Otom, the death of the Chief of Army Staff and other military officers is shocking and quite painful. He says the incident is a setback to the fight against insecurity in the country. Governor Boyega Oyetola of Osun State describes the loss and the Chief of Army Staff as a brave, assertive, and distinguished Army general who gave his best to his country by leading the war against insurgency from the front lines. Governor Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State describes the air crash as deeply saddening. He says Lieutenant General Attahiru's memories will be difficult to forget, as he had an illustrious military career and served the nation with full dedication. In Taraba State, Governor Darius Ishaku has condoled with the families and the entire Nigerian Armed Forces over this loss, which he described as a big blow to the families of the victims, the military, and the nation at large. For the Governor of Ebonyi State, Mr. David Umahi, he's sympathizing with President Buhari, the Nigerian Army, and the families the officers left behind. The Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, describes the 21st Chief of Army Staff as a dutiful and committed soldier who served Nigeria passionately. He praised the late general's contributions in Nigeria's efforts to end the war against insurgency, saying the country will miss his rich experience and knowledge. The Acting Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, has sent his heartfelt condolence to the President, the Armed Forces, families and friends of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Ibrahim Attahiru, other military officers and crew members who died recently. The police chief says he's saddened by the fact that the Army Chief who died was on a patriotic mission to advance the cause of peace and save the lives of others. He describes him as an exceptional military strategist a friend, and an excellent partner in the ongoing fight against insurgency and other security challenges in the country. Soldiers have cordoned off the site where the Nigerian Air Force plane crashed yesterday evening at the Kaduna International Airport. The manager of Kaduna Airport, Amina Salami, says civil aviation officials are not allowed access to the place pending the arrival of officials from the Accident Investigation Bureau. According to her, only the AIB will determine the actual cause of the crash.
The unfortunate incident that happened yesterday took place at about 5:59 p.m. in the evening. We learned that the aircraft was supposed to land at the military base, but due to bad weather, they diverted the aircraft to the civil airport. But unfortunately, it crash landed, probably due to bad weather. We do not have the reports yet as at this moment. And I think the AIB will be coming for the investigation. The military have taken over the site since yesterday. They even slept there. And up till now, they are still there. It has been cordoned off, and civilians are not allowed to visit that site for now. It has not affected our operations because it's not right on the runway. It is outside the runway, but it is within our perimeter fence. It has not affected our normal operations at all.
Meanwhile, the Accident Investigation Bureau, that's the AIB, says it has recovered the flight data recorder, that's the black box, of the military aircraft. In a statement, the AIB General Manager for Public Affairs, Mr. Tunji Oketumbi, said the Bureau has commenced investigation into the incident. According to him, the aircraft's flight data recorder, FDR, and the cockpit voice recorder, CVR, have been recovered for analysis. The AIB has been mandated by the Nigerian Air Force to lead the investigation into the crash of the military aircraft. When the news at 10 returns, Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves sustained decline, dipping by $102.51 million week on week. And that's on Business News. Join us again. Let's look at a lot of stories now. The servicing overseer of the Citadel Global Community Church, Pastor Tunde Bakare, is asking the youth in the country to own the Nigerian project. Pastor Bakare and other clerics spoke in Lagos at a gathering of young people under the aegis of the Conversation Africa that seeks a Nigeria that works for all. Our correspondent, Olu Phillips, has this report.
For things to change, I have to change.
Increasingly and in a rapid manner like never seen before, more and more people from different spheres are asking questions about what the Nigeria project is currently and can potentially be. And interestingly, an aggregate of these interrogations are coming from the young population who in this instance have convened a convocation under the aegis the Conversation Africa.
And what is the story that I would like to tell?
It's everything about a profitable conversation, and on this maiden edition, they've decided to defer to the serving overseer of the Citadel Global Church, Pastor Tunde Bakare, to lead the charge.
Nigeria was brought to its current state not necessarily by gerontocrats, but by mostly young Nigerians, some of whom had been actively involved in governance from their 20s, 30s, and 40s, and some who are still relevant even now. It is why I say that the youth, in a sense, brought us here. However, as optimistic as I can be, I'm of the considered opinion that youth will also take us out of the present predicament.
There's a clear-cut direction for the discourse that would follow. It's on nationhood and nationalism, on governance, leadership, on socio-economic development, youth development, entrepreneurship, and unemployment.
We have been so caught up in what is not working that we have missed or are missing or have the potential to miss the opportunities of what can be and what is possible. And I think we need to showcase entrepreneurship that is built on a value system that aligns with the Nigeria that we are all dreaming of.
A multi-pronged approach will best suit the Conversation Forum. We know the problems, they say, and we will participate in solving it using these principles.
Looking forward to 2023, let's be mindful of the role that we are going to play in that and take responsibility for going to get our PVCs and going out there to decide who leads us based on the kind of future we see and what the person as an individual represents, the values that they represent, and the values we really do want to see in our leaders. We need to make that happen.
My challenge to all of us is looking at Nigeria 2050. You might not be here, but your children and grandchildren will be here. What will they say about the impact you had?
Having convened the yearly platform for 13 years and running, Pastor Poju Oyemade didn't mince words on practical steps and utensils required.
Let's study the political system. Let's understand what democracy is. Let's know how to enter into power. Let's understand it. It is not difficult, but you need to understand it. This change is not difficult. It is not far. But the system has to be understood, and the people must be able to enter into that system at the place at which they can actually begin to influence things. People here can be senior special assistants, you can be special advisors. You may not be able to turn the whole state, but you'll be able to get some programs through because you have the ear of the person who is making decisions.
The Conversation Africa, an initiative of Legacy Youth to drive engaging conversation for perfectible progress for Africa, starting with Nigeria, says the new Nigeria project is on and strategically will be delivered in some of these ways, including political leadership, socio-economic structure, advocacy, direct intervention, philanthropy, and judicial activism. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
From Lagos, we move to Adamawa State, where Governor Ahmadu Fintiri says construction of road projects is part of his administration's urban renewal campaign to bridge the infrastructural gap between the urban and semi-urban centers. He made this known while commissioning 5 newly constructed roads in Michika, once ravaged by insurgency in the state. According to the governor, despite dwindling resources and financial crunch facing the state as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, the state government will ensure that rural communities are not left behind in the development.
Residents of Michika, the administrative headquarters of Michika local government area of Adamawa State, have a reason to celebrate. This is because for the first time since the inception of insurgency in their area, their road is getting a facelift. The construction of the 7.4-kilometer road by the state government, with the support of the Multi-Sectors Crisis Recovery Program (MCRP), is seen by many as a welcome development. Governor Umaru Fintiri arrives at the venue of the official commissioning of the project to a rousing welcome in the company of his Bauchi counterpart, Governor Bala Mohammed. The state's Commissioner for Works and Energy gives details of the project.
Contract for the construction of those roads that include Mukaddas, Lassa, Futu, Low Cost, and Hospital roads were awarded to Mercer's Triactor Nigeria Limited on the 11th of August 2020. I am extremely delighted to report that following vigorous and unrelenting works of the construction of all roads which crisscross the length and breadth of the town have been completed and are now ready for commissioning.
The people are excited.
Since the time of insurgency, when this town was taken over by the so-called insurgency, you know, the previous government had been giving us a lot of promises, and none of them has fulfilled it. This present government has performed beyond expected.
Governor Mohammed commends Governor Fintiri for his commitment to infrastructure development.
I'm not surprised that with COVID-19,
with all the economic doldrums and the problem that the present administration has put us in terms of economic malice, maladministration, that Governor Bintri is able to do this kind of urban renewal in Michika.
The host governor highlights some of his achievements.
We promise to address the infrastructural deficits in the state. We went on to adopt a two-pronged approach: urban renewal program and rural infrastructure and community development.
The Adamawa state government says it is committed to its urban renewal plan aimed at bringing about overall development in the state.
Residents of Oyo State have gone to the polls to elect new sets of chairmen and councillors into the 33 local government areas. The voting process was scheduled to take place between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. but had to be extended till 5 p.m. to make up for lost time due to logistic delays as voting materials and personnel did not arrive in good time. The Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde, after casting his vote at Ward 11, Unit 1, Abayomi Iwo Road, Ibadan, expressed satisfaction at the peaceful conduct of the exercise. Meanwhile, elections into Ido local government area was cancelled as the ZLP's logo was missing from the ballot paper. It was, however, rescheduled for tomorrow, that's Sunday, May the 23rd.
The streets and marketplaces were deserted in compliance to government's directive for the election to hold. Turnout was low in some of the voting centers visited in the early hours of Saturday, but got better as the day progressed. At Ward 11, Unit 1, Abayomi Iwo Road, Ibadan, where Governor Seyi Makinde performed the civic responsibility, the turnout was impressive.
So far, the process has gone on peacefully. All the reports that we're getting from the field indicate that the election has been relatively peaceful. It's gone on very well. People are doing what they're supposed to do. And I am quite happy at what we have seen so far.
Some of the voters also attest to the peaceful conduct of the exercise.
So far, so good. The election is free and fair because we've not had any case of disrupting of ballot boxes, stuffing of the ballot paper.
Midway into the voting process, the chairman, Oyo State Independent Electoral Commission, had to cancel the election in Ido local government area of the state as a result of an error in the ballot papers. The logo of Zenith Labour Party was omitted.
The party happens to be contesting in only one local government, which happens to be in Ido local government. So in that wise, we have decided to suspend the election at Ido local government only alone.
The cancelled election has been rescheduled for Sunday, May 23rd, 2021. And vehicular movement as well as business activities will be restricted throughout Ido local government area while voting lasts. Bukola Uriowo, Channels Television News.
In Edo State, 2 persons have been killed by shots allegedly discharged by one Osage Ufa, who is said to be a vigilante. The victims of the shooting were one Mrs. Lucy Nwarie, a widow and store owner, and Mr. Tony Bassi, a manual laborer. The incident, which occurred at the Aduwawa area of Benin City, has left the residents feeling in shock. Our correspondent, Osaze Obaze, has the rest of the story.
Number 1 Efei Street off College Road, Aduwawa, Benin City, is a rendezvous for manual laborers. They come here to hang around every morning in the hope of getting hired for their services. Here on the wall are telltale marks of the discharged bullet that killed Mrs. Lucy Nwarie, the store owner, and Mr. Tony Bassi, a laborer. This man is an eyewitness of the shooting. It tells us how it all happened.
Suddenly, as we all sit there here together, there's another boy again doing animako for our mama here. Stand there, me sit there. My brother Tony sit down here, mama sit down here. The next thing I hear, gunshot. Boah. I can't jump, get up. Oh, now gonna be that. Who should now see the person who go for front?
Mrs. Warrior's son narrates how he found out his mom had been shot. Is also demanding justice.
I got a call saying my mother was rushed to the hospital. Getting there, she has already died. What I demand is 100% justice.
The second deceased, Tony Bassi, is the father of a 2-month-old baby boy. We met his wife where she is being consoled in her sister's house.
I not get mama, I not get papa. I not get where they go. Now my husband, they work. If he work, I know I'll eat. If he not work, I know they eat.
When contacted for comments, the police public relations officer, SP Bello Kotong, says the police are already investigating the matter.
The suspect is by name Osagi Ofua, who reported himself to the police station at around 9:40 hours. Reported that he was carrying his double barrel and was trying to fire into the air. For now, the investigation is on to unravel if they are accomplished or what is the motive behind such act.
Osazobaza Channels Television News.
For the latest in the world of business, here's Ladi Williams.
Thanks, Melinda. Well, Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves has recorded a steady decline for the 5th consecutive week as outflows overshadowed inflows, despite the recent bullish run in the global oil market. Data from the central bank shows that FX reserves stood at $34.14 billion, dropping by over $300 million from the previous day, continuing the drop since April the 16th, when Nigeria last reached $35 billion. It's a similar bearish run at the currency market as the Naira fell at the official and BDC window, closing at 412 Naira to a dollar at the INE FX window and 410 Naira at the NAFEX spot market. And to the markets now, stocks at the local equities market hit a low last as seen on March the 19th, losing 601 billion Naira in the 5 trading days of this week, as profit-taking dipped the share value to its lowest points this year. Investors remain expectant ahead of the CBN Monetary Policy Committee meeting scheduled for next week, as decisions on key benchmark rates will be taken to curb inflation. A look at the figures show that the key market performance indicators declined, with the all-share index falling below the 39,000 psychological point. On the activity chart, 1.04 billion shares, estimated at 11.54 billion naira, was recorded in 17,233 deals, again from last week's performance. Banking, insurance, consumer and industrial goods were negative in the week in review. And global smartphone and mobile accessories producer Itel has launched 4 new exciting products into the Nigerian market as part of commitments to become a brand of choice. At an online launch, Itel showcased a big battery smartphone, stylish accessories, cutting-edge Android smart TVs, and its Able One laptop for the Nigerian market. Its P37 smartphone has a 5,000 mAh battery, 6.5-inch HD Plus water drop full screen display, and 2 gig RAM and 32 gig ROM, and other amazing features. The accessory manufacturer also launched the T1 Earbuds and Earbuds X with amazing features like Bluetooth, 1 charge for all-day use, 8 hours music playing time, a Star Loop charging case, among other features. Itel says these gadgets are part of its family products, a concept created to provide more devices for consumers to enjoy a better life. And that's it on business. It's back to you, Melinda, for the rest of the news.
Thanks, Ladi. The governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, says the People's Democratic Party, PDP, remains the party to beat in the state, despite the alleged propaganda being peddled by the opposition. Governor Wike stated this at an event to receive members of opposition political parties into the PDP. He challenged leaders of the All Progressives Congress in the state to contribute to the creation of jobs rather than criticize his efforts.
Like a carnival of some sort, the River State chapter of the People's Democratic Party is receiving into its fold members from the opposition political parties.
You can no longer carry broom during rainy season, and there is no way broom can protect you under the sun.
More than 10 of them, among whom are former chairman, former publicity secretaries, and former state lawmakers of the APC, did announce membership of their parties one after another.
Having seen what you are doing in Rivers State, having seen how my dream of APC has been messed up in Rivers State to the extent that we no longer even have an executive. Your Excellency, I decided that my father used to say that if you leave your house and you embark on a journey, and on the way you miss your road, that the best thing to do is, at least, since you don't know where to go again, go back to your house where you came from. The time for one chance government don't finish. The time for 419 for government don't finish. The time for people to say they're going to chop, we're going to clap for them, don't finish. Say, you get one thing when they're there, we don't know whether now traffic light, we don't know whether now monument, we don't know what it is. We just see conflict there. Somebody say he spent $317 million to do that thing. Not be thief. Not be thief.
The River State chapter of the People's Democratic Party says APC and others have been deeply fractured by their defections.
The number of people that are returning home is a group to be pitied because they have toiled. Chief Obobo told me that from now he will be a man that is happy, that he has worked hard and he saw nothing. Wankwala told me what he saw, that is not something to explain to anybody. But today, including Dr. Moore, they said they have come home to work for their party to ensure that those deceits, those lies they have had, that those lies have come to the end.
For Governor Nyesom Wike, he is not surprised at the caliber of defectors because his efforts in developing infrastructure places PDP over any party in River State.
Today is a day that everybody who believes in this party, as far as River State is concerned, should be able to say, God will thank you. God will thank you for what you've been able to do in our lives, for what you've been able to do in our state. Ordinarily, we would not have been here today, but because those who think that they play politics in everything, even when it does not matter, they always want to play politics. You know, we have been sleeping quietly in our own. Some people from somewhere came and woke up PDP. And you know, it is bad for you to go and wake a lion. PDP is a lion as far as we are concerned in this state. Now so. So when you wake a lion, whatever you see, you
take.
Not be so.
Not so.
Not be so.
Not so. The highlight of the reception is the presentation of a symbolic PDP umbrella to the defectors, as the PDP is hoping that they will not only increase their numerical strength, but boost its value and visibility ahead of future elections.
Well, in sports news, Atletico Madrid have emerged champions of the Spanish La Liga for the first time since 2014. Atletico Madrid came back from a goal down to beat Real Valladolid 2-1 at the Jose Zorrilla to snatch the title from rivals Real Madrid. Atletico Madrid finished top of the table on 86 points, 2 points clear of Real Madrid and 7 points clear of Barcelona. And in table tennis, Real Anakombi of Atinuke Club has emerged champion of the 2021 Nigeria Table Tennis Federation National Competition. Akombi fought back from 2 sets down to defeat Taiwo Mati of Ondo State. Akombi will get 250,000 naira for his victory and also qualify to feature in the top 16 championship later this year. In the women's category, Fatima Bello of Abuja G20 Club has won the 2021 Nigeria Table Tennis Federation National Competition. Bello dispatched Bosede Odusoya of Lagos State 15-13, 11-9, 8-11, 11-5 and 11-1 to win the singles crown. This becomes her 3rd title in 2 months after winning the gold medal at the National Sports Festival in Edo State and the ASO Club Championships. Well, that's sports news for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Kayode Kikilu. It's back to Melinda on the news at 10.
Many thanks, Kayode. The UN's Deputy Special Coordinator for the Middle East Peace Process, Ms. Lynn Hastings, has toured some of the areas in Gaza most damaged by 11 days of fighting between Israel and Hamas, with an appeal to both sides to observe the agreed ceasefire as aid teams start to assess and repair the damage. Her visit comes after mediation efforts which involved the United Nations and Egypt. After her tour, Ms. Hastings cited the Gaza reconstruction mechanism agreed, adding that the UN and other relief agencies, including NGOs, would pool and prioritize resources.
The way the system works, the humanitarian community works, is that the UN agencies and the NGOs, both Palestinian and international NGOs, will come together and will prioritize what the needs are. There are many needs, obviously, in a situation like this. Everything from shelter, health care, especially during COVID. We're going to go and see the center that was damaged, the laboratory that was damaged for COVID as well. Food needs, it's really across the board here. And of course, again, in a time when the health system was struggling under the impact and weight of COVID.
And the main news again. Emotions ran high today as the remains of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Ibrahim Attahiru, and other officers who died in yesterday's plane crash were buried at the military cemetery in the nation's capital, Abuja. We leave you with sights from the burial of the officers in the nation's capital, Abuja.